Southside Crips got their name because they were on the south side of Compton, really the southeast portion of our city. And they're one of our larger gangs. I mean, they encompass really a full square mile, really. And they in excess of 100 gang members, so they were very active, and we were there a lot. So we were dealing with Southside Crips all the time. Keffe D used to live down on Burr Street, and it was adjacent to a park called South Park where they all used to hang out, right? And they'd be down there, and there would be 15, 20 deep all the time down there because it was an easy place for them to take off running when the police showed up, because basically there was one way in and one way out. But if you wanted to get away, there was a lot of ways you could take off and go down. There was a canal that ran adjacent to the park. So most of the times they would run over and hop in the canal. So some of the times we'd get like 3 or 4 officers, and they would come in from, there was an entrance on the south side, and they would come in and we'd be parked on the north side. So we had the officers come in and shoo everybody out because they take off running, right? Well, one of the guys was Keffe D, and this is when he was like, I would say 18, 17 years old, somewhere around there. He took off running, and Tim and I ended up catching him. We caught him. He ran all the way down to Burr Street because he lived on Burr Street, but we caught him on the corner and ended up tackling him and taking him into custody, and he had just a few rocks on him, and so we ended up arresting him for the rocks. And so that was basically our first run-in with him, but he was like chill. He was super cool. He never fought with us. He knew he got caught, and that's the type of attitude he always has. He never was confrontational or anything with us. The only other story that really pops out, because we would see him periodically, and periodically he was gone because he was in jail, of course. But the next time we started seeing him was after he became big time. So we'd see him down on California Street with his girlfriend, or he'd be on Burris with his nephew or his friends, all his friends, right? But he'd be kind of like pimped out, like gangster style with the brim hats on. He was like big time now. And I remember seeing him at a basketball game in Dominguez High School. He was with about 20 Southside Crips, and we had a little run-in with Reggie Sr. Went to the basketball game. He took us over there, and he flat out was yelling at the Southside Crips in front of everybody because there was a little incident that happened. But that's really, I would see him periodically, but he really got too big time for us to deal with. So
just making too much money.
Yep, and he was kind of in the background, you know. The only time we'd see him if we caught him driving in a car, standing out front of his house, but he had nothing, you know. He was big time. He didn't have no dope or guns on him. He was over the gangster years. Now he's a big time dope dealer. But he basically was a shot caller. He was calling the shots for Southside, the Burr's crew anyway.
Yeah. Did you ever hear about any disagreements between him and, you know, Darnell Brim was the shot caller for the Glencoe crew of Southside, and they apparently didn't like each other.
Right. Well, basically what happened was that started the internal feud because they always used to get along. But I think it was Rodney Fink, and Lee Banner, and Damon Long. These were like, they were all dope dealers or whatever, but it was Bubble Up, T. Brown, and another guy ripped them guys off for some drugs. And then we had several shootings back and forth where Big Dre, he got shot 7 times by a drive-by. He was in the house with Michael Duro.
Dre did?
He got shot like 7 times. We thought he was gonna die, but they lit the house up with an AK-47. So that was Damon Long, Rodney Fink, and Darnell Brim, and they went to be the Glencoe crew. So that it started an internal feud, and we had a bunch of shootings going back and forth. And that's where another incident, Damon Long was supposed to be the shooter when Big Dre got shot. And that's when Michael Duro caught Damon Long on Glencoe, and Michael Duro was with Orlando Anderson, and they shot Damon Long. Well, Michael Duro did, but Orlando was with him. He shot and killed Damon Long.
Wow.
Yeah, so we had stuff going back and forth right in their own neighborhood. So when they started doing it internal, it gets real bad.
Right. Well, and everybody knows where everybody's at, and
everyone knows where everybody lives. It's hard to hide. They know the cars they drive, and it's rough. So on that Michael Duro and Orlando Anderson murder, though, we had an eyewitness who we took to the station and we put him on tape, and he positively identified Michael Duro as the shooter. But it came time for trial. He went to a different state. He got the hell out of Dodge, so Michael Duro ended up beating that case.
Wow. Yeah, in Keffe's book, he won't even name Duro. He just calls him the Reaper.
Yeah.
Because he was that.
He was, Michael Duro was a shooter since he started in the gang, you know what I mean? So his name came up a lot in a lot of stuff, as Orlando Anderson too. So.
Yeah.
T. Brown, he was always around. I remember seeing him all the time, but he was like with Keffe D and DeAndre or whatever, but we'd always see Orlando and DeAndre and some of the younger guys driving around, doing what they do. But I would not see T. Brown that often as far as him doing anything bad. He was always in the background with Keffe D. Of course, we had informants who told us, yeah, he's dealing drugs and he's ripping off dope dealers, but you know, there's nothing we could do. We didn't have no case on him or anything like that, but I remember, he's just one of them guys you saw all the time, you know?